Hey guys, just checking the sound because I know I've had some issues yesterday with sound. How are we hearing today? Do I sound like a robot? What's with the fireworks? Jeez, that's been going on for a long time. Is there like an event today or something? Hmm. Like, it's pretty good fireworks from where I'm looking. I mean, I can see the whole. It's probably like out near Pakuranga or even near Botany. Jeez. What are you talking about, lemonade? As I said, guys, sorry I got a bit delayed today because my wife was kind of needing to use the computer for her work. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at investigations. Let me just see if the screen's popping up. Of course, it's not going to pop up. Um, Let me just add that source. No, I don't want to rename it. I want to delete it. Add a source, window capture. Where are we at? Give me a second, guys. There we go. Let's blow that out. Where are we at? So, what I wanted to do today was to look at some investigative type of questions. So, like these types of questions here. So they kind of tell you like, here is, what's like the biggest area that you can form from this triangle. Or sometimes they give you like a paddock question, which is like the most annoying question, but they give you like a certain amount of what do you call it, fencing material, and you got to create a paddock just to see what's the biggest paddock you can come out with. And then not this one, because in this one it was slightly different that year. Then sometimes they do stuff like this as well, like they give you like ask you to compare like a couple of areas and try and figure out what's the relationship between them. So what we're going to be doing today is like, I know it's pretty late today, so I probably just will do a short tutorial. But basically, I'm going to talk you guys through investigation. Now, what I might do is like, I might do like one question, just to kind of like give you guys a bit of a rough outline. And then after that, I'll get you guys to try a question. But long story short, it's literally like, it's a series of steps that you guys got to do. Um, and yeah, so it's pretty much that's what it is, investigations. Um, cool. So let's kind of get kick-started here. Lemonade, I don't know how to do this, but maybe this might actually help. There you go. You can screenshot that. There you go, mate. All good? Okay, let's get moving with today's actual work, all right? Wait, just in case you want to grab a screen grab of that. So, um, what do we have here? We're going to start off with a real quick example, guys, and I'm going to kind of walk you guys through this so that you can kind of understand what's happening. I am going to pop up that question from, where was it? This is from, I think it was from last year, this question. So the question was, so basically you got a farmer and he wants to set up 3 rectangular fields, right? Now we're gonna do just one rectangular field, just to show you guys the idea of how this question actually works. So let's imagine that this farmer is actually going to create just one rectangular field, and he has got 120 meters of fencing available. So, which means going back to the main recording here. What are you up to, dog? Okay, so here we go. Let's say this is a rectangular, kind of like, what do you call it? This is going to be the rectangular area that he's going to put a fence for, right? Now, what we're trying to find out is like find the maximum area possible. All right, that's how the question ends up usually looking like. Or they say like if I go back to the question here, so see how they say like use tables and equations to investigate the relationship, blah, 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 blah. Basically, all they're asking you is to kind of like try out a few things and then tell us what you actually figure out. Now, what you'll learn is that when you come to year 12, you actually learn how to do this in a completely different way. And that's what you learn in calculus. However, in level 1 tables, equations, and graphs, you've got to actually come up with kind of like you got to try and figure out a relationship. So here's the thing, right? Now you got a 120-meter fence available to you, and you got to create a rectangular fence. So first thing is there's quite a few ways you can do this. Now, if you're really strong in algebra, you can kind of write down this rectangle as you've got base. So you've got base, and then you've got, or sometimes you might do it as length and width. It doesn't really matter because we are actually working with a rectangle, so you might actually have it as base and height. So long story short, what you have is you've actually got two base. So got two bases and two heights. So your first equation is going to be 2b plus 2h is actually equal to 120 meters. So that's like if you are like really comfortable with algebra, that's what you would do. All right. Now, if you're not comfortable with algebra and you're like, man, I'm done with MCAT. I don't want to ever hear it. I've got some bad news for you guys. Tables, equations, and graphs is part of algebra, so you kind of need to use that algebra anyway. But here's another little tip that you guys can actually do. Let's say you're like, you don't want to do this algebra, and this is something that I always recommend you guys to do if you get to come up with any kind of investigation questions and you're like, you got no idea where to start. Just do a couple of, not couple, but it's like 3 examples, right? I would actually write down 3 examples. So what do I mean by 3 examples? I would simply create 3 rectangles. All right, side by side by side. I'd actually create 3 rectangles. And the reason I want to create 3 rectangles, and I'll tell you why later on, because when we are working with area, we're actually doing base times height. Weirdly enough, you're going to end up with like a quadratic formula, and I'll show you guys how that comes out to be. So we've got 120 meters of fencing. So what we can do is we can kind of split this up, right? So for example, and this 3 examples you guys can just guess and check, like you're just guessing, that's all. There's no right or wrong answer. You're literally putting down 3 possible rectangles that this farmer could actually create. So the first one I'm going to do is something like this: 50, which means the top area is 50, and my 2 sides have to be 10 each, because when I add those 4 numbers, they actually equal to 120. The other thing I could do is maybe I might decide to go 40, 40, 20, and 20. And once again, I'm just checking that all of my 4 sides are actually adding up to 120. That's all fine. And you know what? You could even throw in a little complicated one if you wanted to. You might go, I'm going to make this 35, for example. So you can actually go 35, 35, and that's 70. So you got 50 remaining, which means you got 25 and 25. All right. So what we've done is we've basically created like 3 rectangles with all parameters. All of the parameters actually add up to 120. So that's all good. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to work out the area. So in this case, the area is 50 times 10, and we're going to get 500. In the second case, we're going to get area is equal to 40 times 20, which is going to give us 800. And the third case, we got area is equal to base times height, which is 35 times 25. What do we got? 35 and 25. 21. Yep, 35 start 25 is going to give me 875. So what I've done right now is I've actually created three equations for area, and I've also created three different triangles, right? So with that information, what I could then do is I could actually create a table. So you create three examples. Once you do that, you create a table. All right, and in this table, what we're going to have is we're going to have base and we're going to have area. So if I was to label some of these rectangles here, so it's 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. So the base in rectangle 1 is 50, the area is 500. The base in the second one is 40, and the area is 800. And the base in the third one is 35, and the area is 875. So what I've actually created now is I've actually created a table. All right, so three examples. From those three examples, what I've done is I've used the base there, 40, 50, 35, and I've also got, and I've worked out what the area is. Now here's the cool part. Like if you have a graphics calculator, remember that you only need three values to actually get a quadratic equation. And surprisingly, most of the area questions end up being a quadratic equation. I mean, like it's like super hard to get like any other equation there. So we're going to go into the stat mode, click on the stat mode, and we're going to put in all of these values. So 50, 40, 35, and we've got 500, we've got 800, 875. And what we're going to do is we're going to graph it. We're going to graph one, and there's my weird looking curve. That's all right. Let's see what happens. Calc, and we're going to go into x squared. So what we've got here is we've got an equation for a quadratic. And so I'm just going to copy that down. All right. So y, not y. Let's just write that as it is. So y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And our values are y is equal to negative 1x squared plus 60x plus 0. All right, now that's what my equation is. But here's the thing. What I've actually got x and y as is for the x, I have as the base. So that's what my x values are. And my y is the area. So I could actually rewrite this as area equals to negative 1. And let's say base, I put the letter b. Then that's going to be b squared plus 60b. And if I want to write it, I could just leave it as negative b squared plus 60b. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second, and I'm going to have to kind of like, I know I've written it all over the place here. Let me know if you guys have got any questions about it so far. Elizabeth, great question. Like that's exactly what I was looking for. I was wondering why somebody should have asked me. It's like, well, I'm waiting for it. Okay, how do I know it's a quadratic equation? This is where the algebra part comes in handy. So remember how I originally started with 2b plus 2h is equal to 120. That was my original perimeter equation. So this was the perimeter equation right here, because I've got 2 base plus 2h is equal to 120. Now, if I was to say for the area, I can actually say that area is equal to base times height. Okay, I hope you guys are happy with that. It's just a basic rectangle area base times height. Now the problem is I've got a B and I've got an H, and I can't have, I can only choose one of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that perimeter equation, which is in the red box here, and I'm going to rearrange it so that I have H by itself. So if I do that, I'm going to get 2H is equal to 120, take away 2B, and then H is equal to 120 take away 2B divided by 2. Then I've got H is equal to 60 minus B. Now this is how I know it's a quadratic, because what I can then do is I can actually take H, which is 60 minus B, and I can substitute it in here. And when I do that, I'm going to get area is equal to B multiplied by 60 minus B. And of course, I can expand this. And when I expand this, I'm actually going to get 60B minus B squared. And what you guys will notice is I get the same two equations, whether I do it algebraically or whether I do it through guessing, like taking like three measurements and then getting this units and then putting it as a quadratic. So whenever you're working with area, there's a very high chance that you will be ending up with a quadratic for that. Hopefully that kind of helped you out, Elizabeth, with how did I know that it was going to be a quadratic relationship? Yep. This is level 1 tables, equations, and graphs. Geez, I'm not going to try saying your name, man, because that's a lot of letters there. So let me know if you guys are okay with that. Is max area 900? We're about to find out because I'm going to show you guys how you can get the max area. So here is the next part, right? Now what we have got is the formula. So if I go into my graphics calculator again, and I go into my graph mode, I click on my graph mode, and notice how I said that remember I said area is equal to minus B squared plus 60B. So I'm just going to put that in, but instead of B, I'm going to put X, which means I'm going to get negative X squared plus 60X, and I'm going to click on draw. And right now, this is what my graph actually looks like. And the problem, the reason it looks like this is because my actual window that I'm looking at is kind of screwed up. So I'm just going to click on that and I'm going to reset it. So I'm going to click on initial and draw again. But the problem is it's like, yeah, you can't really see it as much. So I probably need to change it a little bit. I might make this, let's make this 120. And we know that we had about 800 as 875 was there. So maybe we'll put this as 1,000 for the maximum of Y. And let's try drawing that. There we go. Now we can actually see the picture of that parabola. So with that in mind, what we can do is, the cool thing is you guys can actually G-solve straight away to figure out what that point, that maximum point is. So if you click on G-solve, and notice how it says max, you click on that max, and right there, it's going to tell you that when X equals to 30, Y is equal to 900. So in other words, when the base is 30, the area is actually equal to 900. All right, so that's pretty much what you can do. Now, here's the trick though. Obviously, your marker for this paper is not going to actually see your graphics calculator's answer, right? So here's a good little tip that you guys can actually do. The other thing you also can do is if you click on G-solve, there's something called roots. You click on roots and it's going to tell you where these points here are. So that's like X equals to 0, and then when X equals to 60. So what I generally tend to do is I literally just draw like a really quick sketch. Sometimes you can actually, if you have the graph paper, you can kind of like draw it up nicely, like draw a nice little parabola like this. And because I know the maximum is 900, the only line that I'm going to put is like that, and I'm going to put that as 900. And because it's, so 0 and 60 are the two intercepts, and with a parabola, you got line of symmetry. That means the middle is where the maximum is going to happen. So when base equals to 30, max area occurs. So area is equal to base times height. We know that height was 60 minus b, so we've got 30 times 30 equals 900. Now let's say you're like, you don't want to do that. Guess what? Just draw a rectangle. If the base is 30, the other opposite side is going to be 30. And then you've got 30 and 30 here. So that's how you get that 900. Joshua, no. We are not doing that question at all. I'm just doing slightly different variation of this question, all right? So massive variation. And we'll go back to that question so you guys kind of understand how we like, this is kind of like, think about it like this. This is like step one. Um, we're going to do like one more question like this, and then if we go to that final question in 2020, it'll actually start making sense. So this is just to do with a what do you call it? A rectangle, right? One single rectangle. So Joshua, um, for the 2020 exam question, um, remember that he actually had 3 paddocks. So you want 3 paddocks that's going to add up to 120. So that means you could have something like, I might have this as 10, 10, 10, 10. And like straight away, you're going to start getting like some really kind of like awkward numbers. So you might need to be a bit savvy with those numbers so that you don't actually get ugly numbers to work with, as I call it. All right, but we'll do that again so that you guys can get a idea of it. But for investigations, step one, if you're comfortable with algebra, write the equation, rearrange, and get the area. If you're not comfortable with algebra, then I would say draw the 3 diagrams like this. Take some numbers, chuck it in there, and then you can actually get the equation. For the questions you can do in a calculator, do you need to provide working or Ananya? It depends. Sometimes they'll ask you like write it in vertex form or intercept form, and your graphics calculator cannot do that. Your graphics calculator does in this form here, which is the ax squared plus bx plus c form. So it really depends on the question. But for straight lines, it's kind of like assume that you guys will have a graphics calculator and you will probably use that. Any questions, guys, before I'm going to try and kind of increase the level just a little bit for you guys? I'll leave the working up here so you guys get an idea. But before I put the next question up, I just want to check that you guys are okay and if anyone needs any more questions answered. Zach, can you do level 1 algebra? Dude, my schedule is pretty booked at the moment with everything for externals. So if you need any algebra stuff, like there's heaps of tutorials back there in my playlists, man. Go have a look at them. General tips, man. Your name is so hard to pronounce, but I think last year I did a like what was it? A tutorial before the exam. Just kind of ran through some real quick tips. I would say go have a look at that, dude. Justify your answer. Well, I think you justify your answer by actually showing that graph, because that is a form of justification, Yusuf, because you're actually showing that. So the 0 and the 60 comes from there. So you know how like we can say that 0 is equal to b times 60 minus b. Therefore, b is equal to 0, or 60 minus b is equal to 0. So b is equal to 60 in this case. So that's your kind of like justification that those are your 2 x-intercepts. And you don't actually need to kind of say it, because if you draw the diagram and you show it through the graph, that you understand that between 0 and 60, the halfway point is 30. Therefore, that's where the max happens. You could write a sentence if you'd like to. But yeah, like that's one of the reasons of tables, equations, and graphs. It's like, it's really important that you guys at least show 2 things, because when I looked at the 2020 exam, see, I'll show you guys the 2020 exam. See, this is the part I was kind of like a bit kind of confused about. It's like they said use tables, equations, and graphs. But if you look at the 20, even 2019 paper, hang on, where is 2019? Oh, 2019, they had a weird one. See, like, if you have a look, in this case, they actually say use a table or graph, but in 2020, they changed it to use tables, equations, and graph. So that's a bit Sagimoto, because like then you guys have to kind of do all 3. But I'll check the answer schedule because I can't remember off the top of my head. So in that one, yeah, see, like showing evidence of of the use of all equations, tables, and graphs. That's a bit stink. I'm going to be honest, like expecting you to do all three. Um, but you know what? Unfortunately, that's what they're pretty much trying to do at the moment, in terms of the questions. So if you look at in our working, we've got the equations part comes here. So this is the equations part. The tables part come here, and the graph part comes here. So that's how we kind of use all three there to show how to solve this question. Are you guys ready to try a question by yourself? Now, look, we might just have time for one question, but that's all right. Like, as long as you guys get, even if you learn how to write that equation and come up with a table. Oh, by the way, if you do get the equation, you can go directly from the equation to the table. So you don't need to do all those three little rectangles and draw them to create a table. So that's just for people that are comfortable with the algebra, you can go straight from equations to tables. And then once you get the area equation, you can go straight to like sketching a little graph to show what it is. And then you come back and finish off to kind of say like, oh, this is what the maximum area is. Cool. Are you guys ready for a question? It's been very quiet here on the chat. Normally you guys are a bit more talkative. Yes, Joshua, this will be uploaded like within like 2 or 3 minutes after I stop the stream, man. Yep, cool. So you guys try this question. So question 2. Do you guys want a similar one, or do you guys want a slightly the next level up? Okay, I'll go one level up, all right? So I think what Joshua Pickett was asking me. So this time we're gonna go with a 2 rectangle fence. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna have fencing available. We might actually go 140 meters. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yep, let's try that one there. So basically, you've got 140 meters, and you've got to create a rectangular paddock, but there's going to be a fence going in the middle of that paddock as well. So again, if you don't know where to start, just do the 3 diagram kind of things, like how I showed in the previous question. All right, and I want you guys to tell me what is the maximum area possible for this one. So I'm going to give you guys like maybe 5 minutes to kind of go through this first. And I think if you're comfortable with this, then I can show you guys the like, yeah, one more level up if you want to. But try this first just to see how it goes. I might just drop like a few hints every now and then. So for those of you guys that are kind of like, oh, I don't know where to start from, just to kind of guide you along the way. Okay, so no stress. We'll try and work this through. I could have given you a little bit nicer number, but apologies about that. All right, guys, the first bit of hint is going to be coming out right now. So if you don't want to listen to it, just mute me for like maybe 30 seconds. The first hint is like this part right here. So we've got area. So we know that area is base times height, but we've actually got two rectangles inside there. So I'm going to rewrite this as base and base and height. So let's see if you guys can come up with the area of this double paddock first. And then I want you guys to write the perimeter equation as well. So two things that I want from you. The first thing is here we go. So the first thing that I want from you guys is a perimeter equation. Then I would like an area equation. So this is your first kind of hint if you're kind of stuck with this question. I know in my Zoom class, when I'm doing it with my classes, normally I'd go, okay, if you guys have any problems, chuck a thumbs up or something like that. And I know that I don't really have any kind of those kind of emojis on this thing, but yeah, give me a yell if you guys want me to just keep carrying on. Otherwise, if you need a bit more time, just I'll pause there. Uh, all right, guys, I'm going to just cover the perimeter first. So if you want to know, actually, let's do the area first. If you look at the area, the base of this rectangle is actually equal to 2b and multiplied, so that's my base right there, multiplied by the height, which happens to be h in this case, which is the green part. So that's going to be h. So that's my equation for the area. As for the perimeter, remember that I've actually got base here, and I've got h here and h there. So altogether, what I've got is I've got 4b plus 3h. All right, and so my perimeter equation is actually 4b plus 3h equals 140. So that's where I'm at. And again, from this point, you guys can kind of decide like, do I want to have base or do I want to have height? Entirely up to you. I think I gave you guys quite a nasty one, but I do apologize about that. But it's all right. At least this way you get to kind of learn anyway. So we're going to rearrange so that h is by itself. So we're going to get 3h is equal to 140, take away 4b, and what we're going to get is one ugly looking equation because we're going to get h is equal to 140 minus 4b divided by 3. And so because that's what h is equal to, our area equation is going to equal 2b times this entire ugly looking thing here. So once we get this part right here, we've got the area as this formula here. Now, here's a really neat little trick that you guys can actually do with the graphics calculator. You can create a table like this. I'm just going to call this base, and I'm going to call this area. What we can do in the graphics calculator is click on menu, go into table. So click on table right there and type in the equation. So we're going to go 2x multiplied by, I'm going to put a double bracket there. So 140 take away 3, no, not 3, 4, sorry, 4x. And that's divided by 3 and close bracket. And we're going to click on, what should we do? Should we click on table? Actually, not even table, just leave it like this and just click enter. What you're going to get is like a whole heap of answers, like a table, like a full-on table, right? So for example, if your base is 2, then your area is 176. That's what it means by. If your base is like 20, if you want 20, you can just click on the 1 and just retype 20 in there. So there you go. If it's 20, then your area is 800. Then we might try like 50. Obviously, 50 is not something that we want. Maybe try 40. No, definitely not 40. We got 25 maybe. Okay, so there we go. 25. Let's actually try 24. Okay, 24 is nice. So 24 is 704. And suddenly you've just got a equation, and then you've got a table as well. Now we need the graph. So because we need the graph, we're going to go into graph mode here. And this generally tends to happen, but just got to click on type and y equals. No, that's not going to work. Yeah. So basically what we're doing is like we just got to retype that equation. And when you retype the equation, you're going to get your graph again. Now we want to get these 2 points here. So click on gsolve and click on root. So your first one obviously is at 0 and your second one is at 35. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to sketch like a quick little graph here. So that's 0, that's 35, and your graph is going to look something like this. Halfway point between 35 and 0 is 17.5. So if we click on max, we click on gsolve and click on max, that's going to give us 17.5 and 816 2/3. So I'm just going to kind of like be a little cheeky. And so I can say that when base equals 17.5, max area occurs with max area is, not occurs. Max area is 816.67 meters squared, for example. We got complete radio silence today. How did it go, guys? How was that? Did you guys get anywhere near it? Yeah, it's one of those annoying questions, Yusuf. I wish I could actually see you guys working, because it's like, when I see people's working, I can kind of like point out where they made mistakes. But unfortunately, it's like, that's this is just the nature of these types of questions. I wanna go back and show you guys the how last year's paper, like not last, yeah, it was last year's exam paper ended up looking like, so you get an idea of this and how I did it. So last year's exam looked like this, right? So um, basically, it's the idea behind like how there was, you got four kind of borders almost with the X's and the Y's being the base. So that's pretty much what I actually did. I literally came up with that perimeter equation. Um, yeah, Simon, I think like that question there, if you had done it as base, like let me just go back. Um, there's nothing wrong with you doing it with B time H because you still would get, you could still potentially get the same answer because your equation would end up looking like this. If you had actually done B, right? So for example, let me just show you, Simon. If you had done it where H, 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 and this is B, so your area is equal to base times height, but your perimeter is actually equal to 2B plus 3H. So 2B plus 3H is equal to 140. Then 3H is equal to 140, take away 2B, and H is equal to 140, take away 2B over 3. Now, in this case, you should still get the same answer because you're going to get B times 140 minus 2B over 3. All right, so I think I'm just trying to think, is my answer actually correct? Yeah, it would work out because B is equal to B is 17.5. What did you get, Simon, as your answer? So your answer would have come out as 35, is that correct? Let me just check, man. So you would have done X multiplied by, yeah, you would have got 35. Yeah, that's fine, dude. Then that's right. Because you see, my B, the 17.5 is actually here. It's actually 1B, so that means the base of it is actually going to be 35 because it's 17.5 plus 17.5 is equal to 35. So your answer would have ended up being 35, which means you should be on the right track. Okay, let me have a look then. 2x divided by 3. Yeah, you would have got 35 as your answer, max. Yep, there you go. You should have got 35, but your maximum area still is the same, which is 816. But when you calculated your base, what you got 35 was because I used 2B, so I actually separated it as two separate parts. But because you combined it, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And so you'd basically say that the bottom, the base of that rectangle is going to be like 35. So that's absolutely fine. So once you get that 35, then you can actually go and work out what your height is and then work out your maximum area. But you don't need to because that's what this formula does because it actually works out your area as well. Yeah, we can do another one, but I'm just aware of time because it's like 9:50 at the moment. If you guys are up for it, then yeah, I'm happy to chuck another one up. What do you guys? You guys up for another one, or do you guys all have to? Because I realize tomorrow is still school day for most of you people, unlike me. All right, we'll do another one. What we might do is, I'm just trying to think. I might try a slightly different one because I mean, like, I know you guys are, I mean, you guys are okay with the 2021, right? Because that's just three rectangles, unless you guys want to try the 2021 with three rectangles. Otherwise, I can give you guys one which is like open-ended, like it's a rectangle, but it doesn't, it's like it borders with like a river and stuff like that, so you don't have to fence the river. Let's do that one because that's a, you guys, if you want to do the 2021, you guys can always go have a look at that video on 2021. But let's try this one here. Okay, so let's say um, open-ended. We've got a rectangular paddock again, but this time one side of the fence is actually going to be a river. All right, and what you have got is you've actually got, let's go 100 meters of fencing. And my question is, what is the maximum area for this? And remember that it's you're only fencing three sides here. So that's my little challenge for you guys. So give it a go, and I'll go through the answer in like maybe about a few minutes. But I'll go through it slowly so that if you guys are working on it, you can get plenty of time to kind of keep going ahead. 1250. All right. Okay. I'll start working on it slowly, Yusuf. So if you're still there, you can kind of just keep up with it. So as usual, I'm going to do base times height for this. So I've got my base, got my height, and I've got my height. So area is going to be base times height. That's straightforward. Nothing changes there. Perimeter is going to change because we've got only one base plus 2 height, and plus 2 height. And that's now equal to 100. So with that in mind, I can actually say that 2h is equal to 100, take away the b, and then I can say that h is equal to 100 minus b divided by 2. So what do I have? I've got equation for the area now, which is base times height, or base times 100. I just realized, oh yeah, that's fine. 100 minus b over 2. So that is my equation. And because that's my equation, I'm going to go into my little cheat sheet with the table. Let's get rid of this. And I'm going to push this in here. So I've got x multiplied by 100 minus x. Which way do you want me to do it, Simon? Like the guessing and checking, or the plotting the points? Like b is equal to 100. Yeah, no, you can do that as well. That's absolutely fine, because then just remember that, like, instead of like in my table, like my table is going to have base and area. Your table is going to have like height and area. That's all the difference. So there's nothing wrong with it. So yeah, hopefully you got that. So for my version, it's going to be base and area. For your one, it'll be like height and area, like this. But we should still get the same answer even if you were to do that. Let's see what happens, right? So what do we got? 100 blah blah blah, 100 minus x over 2. Put that through. There's a couple of values for me. So if my base is 2, then my area is 98. Let me grab some values. If it's 10, it's 450. If it's 25, I've got 937.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and draw this in my graph mode. This is what if I remember. Why? No. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to click on view window, maybe change that to about 3000. Again, just rough guessing and checking. There we go. There's my graph. So rough sketch of the graph. It's going to be a parabola that looks like this. What are my roots? So click on G solve. So I've got 0, which is at the corner, and the other one is at 100. Now that means maximum happens when it's at 50. So I could actually take this 50 and put it in the equation, or I could be a bit lazy and click on maximum here. And that tells me that when the base is 50, that's when the maximum height, maximum area occurs, which is 1250. So we can say max area is 1250 when base is equal to 50. And once again, I've got my equation, I've got my table, and I've got my graph as well. So yeah, so that's pretty much another version of this type of question that they could ask. But I think they did a similar one a few years back, I think 2017 maybe, I can't remember. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for today's session. I just wanted to keep it really light with the equations. Gabe, I've actually heard that before, funnily enough. 2 years ago, I think it was. Um, Quite a cool comment. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. But yeah, Now, I think we should be good with this, guys. If you guys go and have a look at that 2020 exam, that very last question in 2020 tables paper, you guys should be able to understand it a bit more now. And that ends up being like an excellence question anyway. Um, where was it? See, I think I'll just leave it up here so you guys can have a look at it. And I think that should make sense now with that question. Because you've actually got four sides, so that's like your 4x, and then two bases, which is like 2y. Rewrite the equation, substitute, and you get your, like I actually did more work on this question. But in reality, you guys can actually get all that table. You don't even need to do that. You can do the table straight from the calculator. And then just draw like a rough sketch and then write a statement. What is max area? And then you're pretty much done. Theobar, give me a second. I need to check my schedule. Today's date is 11th. Oh wow, we're coming back on Sunday for another TEG. Wonder what are we going to do then? Haven't actually decided. Maybe we should do some geometric reasoning. I might put it out. Looks like 15th November. So Monday, next week, Monday, Wednesday is algebra and calculus. Hopefully that helped, Theobar. Just go to my website, man. If you go to my website, you're going to see the website is in the description of this video, of the stream. If you go to the website, you'll see when the tutorials are on. All right, guys, that's it from me. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask on the chat before I bid adieu. Yep, no worries. Catch you on Monday, Wednesday, Theobar. Very interesting name. Cool name, actually. Theobar. See you, mate. How my level one's done? My level ones are done for the night, I think, by the looks of it. Cool, guys. Have a good one, and I will catch you again on Sunday for our next tutorial, all right? Catch you guys.